Hi guys, today we're going to react to TENOHIRA de Odoru, which by Google Translate means Dance with Palms, by SOKONINARU. This is a Buy Me a Coffee request from Jim Nusbaum. Thank you, Jim, for this request. We appreciate all your ongoing support.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate the ongoing support.
This is an unusual music video. I don't think we've seen a music video specifically like this because of the rapid cuts. There are frame-long shots in there, and it correlates perfectly with the rhythm of the song. It's a very fast song. It's an attack on the senses. There's a micro intro there. It just blasts out and throws you off keel as you listen to it. It has me feeling pleasure from the music, but also unease and confusion, not just because of the language barrier, but confusion because the rhythm is exhilarating and unsettling at the same time.
As far as like nothing we've heard before, I think the composition is actually more like something I've never heard before. It's very complex. It's something that might take further listens to kind of get the ear used to and to fully understand in a way. Really, really cool. I felt like I was trying to catch up the whole time. I'm trying to work it out. What's happening here? The music just changed this way and then it went this way. And then it's just a very kind of interesting beat in certain spots and then it goes into something else. And as you said, it kind of keeps you on your toes. Kind of confused, but still it sounds really good. Very different to the one we reacted from them before, In Birth.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very interesting. Wow, this song is a lot to take in. And I'm talking about the music, the composition. Forget the music video, forget the lyrics for a second. That was incredible, extremely cool. I don't know if I've ever heard anything quite like it. It made me think of the movie Split, because I'm thinking this song has not 28, but 48 personalities in it. It just went everywhere all at once, somehow made it work. Such a complex composition would be very, very tough to perform, to play, to sing. Even though they were all fantastic, I was extremely impressed by the drums. That was awesome. Wow, it's completely different to In Birth that we reacted to before from them. Definitely sends me on a bit of a trip going, what the hell is this band about? Because the other one, In Birth, had sort of a mainstream feel to it, especially in the chorus and somewhere around there, or something that could translate into the mainstream. But holy shit.
The image that comes to my mind, I can't be unbiased because I keep going back to the meaning and the lyrics, but in my mind, I see a caged beast that is trapped in a cage, and the cage is about to give, and the beast is about to be let out. It's like an attack. The song is an attack on the senses. This song will be perfectly placed as a soundtrack for a very tough MMA fight, something like that. Very high rhythm, doesn't let you rest for a second. It's like a shock wave, the song. It makes you feel like the intent behind it is like to slap us awake from a coma, from being sedated. I keep pointing out that I'm biased. I'm leaning on the meaning. That's why I conjure up what the music must mean. But it's not necessarily because of the music. I may cast my own interpretation on it. It has a melancholic vein in it that stems from frustration, that stems from the existential questions in the song. I can't seem to separate the two. It'll take a few more listens.
And there's something interesting about what you said. It is a bit like an attack, a slap in the face, because it's also so short. But I think there could be two reasons for that. One could be for that effect, but the other one is potentially because they were thinking, we have to give the audience something they can withstand. If this went on for much longer, my head might have exploded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, holy crap, I don't know which way to go with this. Wow, just very impressive, I have to say. As far as, again, the composition of it, even just coming up with that as a concept.
I want to start with something that we heard near the end of the song, because it really, really resonates with what existential questions that we may have that were before we heard the song, that we carry with ourselves throughout life. They talk about what we are like when we are 3, when we learn the language, and then we talk about the cutoff age at 13 when we enter puberty. At age 3, we just learn what things are. We learn the language, we learn we must eat, we learn we have a mama and a papa, whatever, most of us at least, and we learn how things are. When we mature and we reach puberty, something very interesting happens in puberty. Our brain gets rewired, so we get emotional and our hormones get off balance, and our place in the world becomes more vague. It's a very problematic age. As teenagers, we've all been there, and the existential questions of, I talked about the what. At age 3, we start dealing with the what of life. So the questions of why and what's my place in the world, who am I, they all begin when we hit those teenage years, because that's when I think it first beckons, what the hell are we doing here? So the rebellious thing of teenagers, I think it stems from that, because nobody asked them if they want to be born. There's a very strong familiarity with that notion as a teenager, if I look back over the years. And the song does deal with existential questions and points out the fact that we're not in control and we're never going to be in control. And the sense of self is an illusion. And there's a puppet master, and we don't know what it is, but we're likely never going to achieve that sense of self, because you can only have a sense of self if you have something else to compare it to. But if you don't, if you take all these things out of the equation, then who are you? You'll never know who you are. And that's the melancholic vein that I took from it. There are no answers.
I think they hit on similar questions as far as existentialism, also in Birth. But here it's kind of like almost a slightly different approach, a more aggressive one, I think, in a way. You look at the opening line to the song, you know, assuming that God has a will, we've already been programmed by him. And this is like if you believe in God as far as religion, or if you believe in a creator of sorts, somebody who's in control. If they intended to create us and our world, then we've already been programmed by them.
Yep.
The only way we can be potentially not programmed is if we are an accident. If we were created by accident and there was no one with a will behind it, you know what I mean? If this wasn't planned. But if it was a plan, then we're already programmed, which is interesting to think about. That line, you know, it says, are we dancing now or is someone making us dance. I remember like when I read the lyrics, I remembered it differently. I remember that, are we dancing now or are we being danced? Because that made more sense to me. Are we active in this thing or is this all somebody else is doing? Is everything about us predetermined or at least decided upon by someone else? Are we just going through the motions? Can we get out of that? Do we have an identity? And can we do anything about it? And you're talking about the age of 3 and the age of 13 that is mentioned in the song. It got me thinking about when we get to the age of 13, we get deprogrammed in a way because everything becomes a mess and jumbled up. It's almost like some sort of a fault in the system. Everything takes over. Our hormones, our thoughts go everywhere. We are also more easily influenced and also out of control at the same time. So it's almost like that. If there is ever a time to get deprogrammed, it's that age. That's where it should start. We start to see things differently. We start to learn from our surroundings a bit more as far as seeing it clearly and not seeing it how we are told to see it. So it's interesting. Like before that, everything is like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
And that line, and after all, we noticed that we haven't learned anything at all because that's usually what happens.
The sense of feebleness that arises from it when they address these existential questions, it had me thinking that we're having all these questions, and maybe those questions that we find ourselves asking because we consider ourselves intellectuals, maybe those questions are part of the programming as well. It kind of had me reminded of The Matrix. We see, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen The Matrix, then go watch it. Neo awakens from the Matrix, and then he has an entire journey, and he leads them, whatever, to free Zion. But that's also a part of the programming. The source, whatever, the machines knew that they needed to do this with Neo so they can have some sort of symbiosis with the humans. Everything was a part of the programming. So all these existential questions, to be free, to know who you are, that's also an agenda of a puppeteer that's ruling us all. And there's something either very sad or very liberating about it. It could be liberating because you don't have to think. You don't have to have a sense of self. Just live your life and be happy with what you have. Stay dumb and down. It's kind of sad because it actually says, don't look for any meaning because there is none.
What you're saying reminded me of a line in the song that says that we are losing our identity. And when I read that and thought about it, I was like, well, do we even have one?
Yeah, did we even have one to begin with?
Yeah. Identity is something that changes over time for some reason. It shouldn't, but it kind of does. It gets built over time and we form it and mold it, I guess. Or is it being molded by someone else? That's really the questions that are asked here. It's interesting. In one verse, it says, can we start now trying to fight back? Are we still being manipulated? And the proof of our existence has been shading off. Japanese translation or whatever. Yeah. But again, proof of existence, which is something that I always say. Obviously, we exist to some extent because we are here, we're talking, we're seeing things, whatever. But existence within itself is illogical.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. When you boil it down, life doesn't make sense because everything came out of nothing. You can't find any reasoning to it. Not the what and not the why.
There was mention in the song of some kind of a voice that echoes from deep within. It's something that we all have, what we think of as our true identity, something that tells us something is off, we need to do something about it, we need to make a change, we need to do that. But even that echo, that voice, could be part of the program. So it's like we are in a constant state of uncertainty where, in my opinion, we reach a point where we kind of make a choice. We go with the flow or we don't, or we change things and we go another way, and we can shake things up a bit or whatever, but it doesn't mean that that's not part of the programming as well. So we will never know, so it doesn't really matter. But this song really encourages, or the theme of it is really self-reflection or introspection, to kind of realize that we do have some kind of individuality and we need to keep searching for it, for meaning and all of that. But at the same time, there's a limit to how far we can go without losing ourselves completely. It's that never-ending question, really. It's never going to get answered, at least not while we're still around, if you know what I mean. Once we die, who knows? It's just one of those things, I think, that we need to give up on trying to get an answer and just try to play around with it and see where it gets us.
I think as a species, we are rigged to have our drive to find answers as an insatiable one. We have to find answers. Since we're all been here since the day before yesterday, in the grand scheme of things, the universe is built mostly of question marks. So we will never stop looking for those answers.
That's exactly the thing. We think that because we ask questions, we are in a way revolting against this programming. But at the same time, we're probably programmed to always want answers, to keep asking questions. And my thinking is maybe the way to go go against it is just to stop asking the questions. I mean, it's nice to ask the question, to hypothesize, to theorize, to kind of talk about it, think about it, like the conversation we're having right now. But ultimately, we're not going to get any answers, not the ones we are looking for. So, as I always say, the one thing that we do know is that we know absolutely nothing. If we can make peace with that, we can actually enjoy the time we have here and maybe get something out of it. Maybe that's the way to go against the flow, and maybe not. So, yeah, life is a ride.
Yeah, the only certain thing is that nothing is certain. And also, if you look at nature, if you consider evolution as a mechanism that allows species to either evolve or get extinct, the entirety of nature is finding answers to questions. If you have certain animals that eat other animals or develop certain skills so they can survive in a certain climate, that's evolution finding answers for them so they can survive. It correlates with that drive of finding answers. It's not something that started with mankind. I think it's rooted deep in the programming of the essence of life itself.
Absolutely. And the way we try to kind of translate it is that we think we keep finding hints and patterns and this and that and the other. At the same time, there's no answer out there. If there was an answer, we are likely to have stumbled upon it by now, even by accident, to some extent. I think the answer is that there isn't one, as far as not in this state, not in our lifetime, let's put it that way.
If you compare the entirety of the time that the universe exists to a single month, mankind existed only 30 seconds of the last day.
Absolutely.
So
and the longer we'll be around, that reality will become different in a way.
Yeah, my point is that to term it as there is no answer out there, it's more accurate to say that we just haven't found it yet, or we may never find it. We don't even have proof that it doesn't exist.
My point is not that there isn't one out there necessarily, but that we'll never find it. Even if there is, we will never find it. It's the way we have to think in order not to lose our sanity. Because if we're here for 30 seconds, or if we're here for the whole entirety of time, I think we will still be in this state where we're still not going to know the answers. So that's what I think the answer is, to stop looking for one and just be patient that maybe there is something beyond our life in a way, and maybe there isn't. Maybe it's all one big joke. Just got to enjoy the ride while we're here, and that's the best we can do. That's how I see it anyway.
Ignorance being bliss, I think it's a factual thing. The more you know, the sadder you get.
To some extent, I think you can find a balance if you stop looking for those answers. You can just kind of use whatever intelligence you have for other things and not just to try to find the ultimate answer. There's plenty else out there to enjoy.
I can't promise anything because I'm programmed to do that. Yeah.
We all are. Amazing band, amazing song. It's not just their music, which is fantastic. It's also their lyrics so far that have brought about all this discussion out of us. Absolutely amazing. SOKONINARU, really enjoyed this one. Thank you, Jim Nusbaum, for another awesome request. We really, really enjoyed this one. Much appreciated. Thank you for the ongoing support.
Thanks, Jim, for this SOKONINARU request. We enjoyed the stimulation for the mind. A very lengthy episode on a 3-minute song. We appreciate all your support. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed this episode, guys, please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click the little bell icon so you get notified on all our future videos. If you have a song in mind you'd like us to react to, please make it through Buy Me a Coffee so we'll get a chance to get to it. Thank you all for sticking with us. Thank you all for your time.
If you want to check out our reaction to In Birth by SOKONINARU, the link should be up on the screen sometime about now. Check it out. Let us know what you think. We are really enjoying this band so far. Thank you so much for all the support coming our way. We appreciate it oh so much. We'll be back in a couple of days with a new episode, and we hope to see you all then. Thanks again, guys. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.